Hello, everybody. My name is Matthew Rowe, and I'm the CEO of the Campaign for Wool here in Canada and its parent organization, the Canadian Wool Council. Thank you for joining us for our latest Spinning Yarn speaker series. This series is a great way for us to profile all the interesting personalities in the wonderful world of wool from coast to coast to coast, and arose out of a demand for us to be able to do more in between kind of our big demonstration projects and research work, to be able to find new and interesting ways of exploring what everyone's doing with wool, and it really is amazing when you look at the diversity of the work going on in this country. For those of you who don't know, the Campaign for Wool is, of course, an initiative of His Majesty the King, and was launched by their Majesties back in 2014 on a windy pier in Pictou, Nova Scotia, and has grown from being much like the global campaign, where we promote wool as a natural, sustainable, biodegradable fiber. But more than that, in the past few years, we've really been focusing our efforts on developing opportunities for Canadian wool and the Canadians who transform it. And that really infuses everything we do, and it lies at the heart of our wool plan, which for those of you who haven't read it, available on our website, gives you a great vision for where we want to take the wool industry in Canada and to really rebrand and revalue the fiber. We do that in a variety of different ways. But our most visible examples are with our annual Wool Month projects, which take place in October. Our speaker today comes to us from one of those projects. We always try to have projects focusing on different applications of wool, and usually have projects in fashion, interior design, and fine art. Our speaker, Inder, comes to us from the Fine Art Project. This year, we had a really special initiative where we had the opportunity, we were lent a group of 7 painting of original rug hook designs by J.E.H. MacDonald. And then we worked with Anne's organization, the Newfoundland Guild of Rug Hookers, or Rug Hooking Guild. I know it's Valentine's Day. I'm going to try and keep the hooker jokes to a minimum. But we provided the painting or images of the painting to her team, and her members, 8 of them from across the province of Newfoundland, recreated those designs in beautiful 100% Canadian wool. The culmination of that project was an exhibition at the Rooms, which is the provincial art gallery in St. John's, and that ran for a couple weeks with the original painting, as well as the recreated rugs hanging alongside. So that was something we were very excited to do, and really showcasing a part of the country that has one of the oldest wool traditions and wool usages in the country. It's one of the oldest parts of the country in terms of European settlement, and one of the earliest places that sheep's wool was brought to Canada, and is very much a part of, pardon the pun, the fabric of the province, just like it is part of the fabric of Canada. And so without further ado, I'd like to hand it over to Anne to tell us a little bit more about her organization, her incredible work, and the craft that is rug hooking. So over to you, Anne.
Well, thank you very much, Matthew, for the introduction, and also for giving me the opportunity to highlight the Rug Hooking Guild of Newfoundland and Labrador, where we started, what we do, and where we're going, especially on this beautiful stormy day in Newfoundland where half the province is shut down. That's the benefit of Zoom. We don't have to worry about weather. Okay, my name is Ann Inder. Looking for something to do after I retired from the education field in 2011, I did a beginner rug hooking course from Joan Foster. I guess in 2011 at that little beginner rug hooking workshop, I got hooked because I've been hooking, and more recently, I've started punch needle since then. With regards to the Guild, I've been a member of the Guild since 2012. I've assumed many different roles on the executive, which leads me to this year's role of president. Okay, now you don't want to hear a whole lot about me, but I want to share a whole lot about the Rug Hooking Guild with you. So I am going to share my screen. Hopefully it works. And I have a presentation for you about the Rug Hooking Guild. Let's start. Okay, here we go. If you have any questions as we're going through, either put them in chat, I think, Alyssa, or at the end, I understand there is time for question and answer.
Yeah.
Okay, so please ask questions, anything that you think of that, and no question is a silly question, because if you want to know it, guaranteed somebody else wants to know it also. Okay, so with that said, welcome to the Rug Hooking Guild of Newfoundland and Labrador, for beauty born of necessity. In this presentation overview, how and why it all began, I presented a historical timeline. I'll highlight some of our activities, challenges, and our exhibitions, the membership benefits, and then how to become involved. How and why it all began. Well, it began with a lady from Nova Scotia, Elizabeth Walker, who, when visiting with her family, they stopped at a little island off northeast Newfoundland called Change Island. Well, she looked around for some rug hooking supplies, and there were absolutely none. Elizabeth came to realize that rug hooking was no longer a part of the life and times of Change Island, and as she was going around the island, also realized that it was dying in the province altogether. Well, she vowed to return the following year and to teach the craft of rug hooking. Elizabeth kept her promise, bringing hoops and hooks, burlap, and supplies for 10 to 12 people. Beulah Oak offered her dining room of her B&B on Change Island, and before the boxes were even unpacked, people were showing up to take classes. One such person was Linda Peckford, who had learned to hook from her grandmother. Elizabeth encouraged Linda to attend the rug school in Nova Scotia, which she did in May of 1995. Well, Linda thought, if Nova Scotia can have a rug hooking guild, why can't this province have one? There were very few people who knew how to hook at this point, other than the few older ladies, and it was very difficult to find a hook mat for sale in a craft shop. Linda started asking around to see if there was any interest, which led her to Joan Foster. Joan's mom taught her to hook in 1979. She had already been to the rug hooking school in Nova Scotia in 1993 and was very interested in reviving the traditional skill, and this skill that was quickly fading into the pages of history needed to be brought back. Responses from an ad placed in the Evening Telegram for the school was very good. So Linda convinced Edie Cole, a rug hooking teacher from Nova Scotia, to come to Change Island in August of 1995, and Edie taught a course to 21 people from around the province. It's from that initial workshop that Edie Cole taught that Rug Hooking Guild NL came into effect. The first president was Linda Peckford. The vice president was Amy Burden, Secretary Joan Foster, and the treasurer was Sadie Edwards. And as they say, it's all history since then. The purpose of the Guild is to encourage participation in the art and craft of rug hooking in the province, to bring people together with a common interest, to provide an information network and the opportunity to share ideas, to provide training for members, to encourage business opportunities, to promote public awareness through exhibits and publicity. And one of our most important roles is to record and preserve the historical background of the craft in the province. How RHGNL began. 1993, Elizabeth Walker visited Changed Island. 94, Elizabeth returns to teach a class at Seven Oak Inn on Change Island. 1995, after attending rug school, Linda started exploring how to start the guild, which led her to Joan Foster, and between the two of them, as they say, our journey begins. Timeline again, basically since 1995, Igolochkoy teaches a class to 23 students. She also returns. In 1996, Elizabeth Walker, along with 3 other teachers from the Rug Cooking Guild in Nova Scotia, returned to teach our first rug school, which was held in Gander. At this point, I'm also going to mention that Edie and the other 3 teachers that came did not charge at all for their travel or expenses to come and help us get the guild going. Rug Cooking Guild NS has been very helpful in getting the guild started, and today they are still helping us as much as they can. 1997, the Heritage Hook Rug Registry began. To date, we have over 1,200 mats registered. Some of these mats go back and are 118 years old. I think it's the oldest mat that we have. In 2006, our book, Hook Mats of Newfoundland and Labrador, Beauty Born of Necessity, was published. 2015, our 20th anniversary was held on Fogo Island. 2020, the 25th anniversary celebrations were delayed by COVID, but we had our Silver Supper held at our 2022 rug school. Ongoing, we have branch hookings, exhibitions, retreats, rug schools, and workshops. Our book was published in 2006 and is a time capsule of the rug cooking in Newfoundland and Labrador. The book also includes, in the book, are photos of mats and their stories from all around the province. The book also refers to the main focus, I guess, in the early start of the province was the Grenfell mat. When a British physician, Wilfred Grenfell, first arrived in northern Newfoundland and Labrador in 1892. Okay, so that brings us back a fair ways. Grenfell found that most local women who had been hooking since they were children had the necessary equipment of handmade hooks and frames. Inspired by practical religion of self-reliance, he saw an opportunity to raise money for his mission work and to provide local residents with a role in the work. With the development of a local cottage industry, residents produced distinctive handicrafts, including woodworking, embroidery, and hook mats. It is the hook mats, originally known as mission mats, that became associated with the Grenfell mission work. Over the years, as their mats changed, and they started using silk stockings and pantyhose to create their works, these mats have become known as the Grenfell mat. And I believe one of the mats went at auction for over $10,000 about 3 years ago. So maybe if you have a Grenfell mat somewhere, you may look to see if it's valuable. Unfortunately, some of these mats have just been thrown to the garbage. Okay, the rug registry is a vital part of our of RHGNL, and it preserves our history. And again, it's something that we think is extremely important. Okay, you know why we're here, and you know what we do. So why become a member, you ask? Well, the benefits of becoming a member of Rug Hooking Guild is to be involved with like-minded people who want to learn, create, and share the love of learning, retaining and evolving the historical craft of rug hooking. Some of these pictures here show our classes, our rug school, ladies sitting and enjoying social time. You also have the opportunity to learn from certified teachers and from each other. Being a certified teacher myself, I know the value of learning from someone that has been trained in what they're supposed to do. But one of the biggest things that I find is that when we attend, or when I attend hook-ins, I learn so much from other people by just walking around. And I've yet to be turned down when I've asked somebody, how do you do that? They very gladly will stop whatever they're doing and saying, okay, this is how you do it. You get the opportunity to create pieces that range from functional to highly artistic. At one time, mats had a progression on how they went. The best mat, or mat as it was first done and as beautiful as it could be, was put in the parlor and was only used usually Sundays when clergy or somebody very important came to your house and you let them sit in the parlor and they got to admire your mat. From the parlors, it then went to the bedroom, so that as it got older, that when you got out of bed in the morning, you got to step on a warm mat instead of a very cold floor. From the bedroom, it then went to the kitchen. Again, which was used a lot. Your mat is getting older and older and more tattier looking. Then it goes to the back door for your boots. And eventually mats ended up sometimes out in the burn. So you've gone from this place of high esteem being in the parlor to out in the burn where the sheep and the cow and everything else are walking across it. More importantly, the benefit of being a member of the Rug Hooking Guild NL is to continue with the legacy that has been passed down through the generations. Same as a lot of other skills that basic skills are lost and are now starting to come back. And the Rug Hooking Guild of Newfoundland and Labrador encourages as many people as we can to become involved. It also gives us an avenue to recognize mat makers. In the 2022, the Campaign for Wool approached RHGNL with an opportunity to be part of one of their projects, which we gladly accepted. 8 rug hooking members were selected based on their skill to present their rendition of one of the selected group of 7 paintings. This exhibit traveled across Canada. Lady Joan Foster, Margie Angel, Winnie Glavine, Carol Ann O'Neill, Jane Nevis, Molly White, and Heather Gordon were selected to do their rendition of the mats that were offered to do. If you notice in the picture, the 8 mats are there. In the bottom picture, Joan Foster, who was one of our founding members and an international teacher, along with the Right Honorable Judy Foote, who was there the evening that we opened our exhibition. And she also wants now to learn how to hook. But those are some of the mats that they did, and the work was absolutely spectacular. And we're very, very proud of these ladies for the work that they did. Also, each year, a Viewer's Choice Award is presented at Rug School, which is voted on by the participants and the viewing public. Last year, Kay Lewis from Port de Grave was our Viewer's Choice Award winner. And in 2021, Lillian Dwyer was our winner. These ladies produce absolutely beautiful work, and it's nice to be able to recognize people. Some of the activities that RHGNL take part in. Each year, the teachers group organizes workshops around the province. The workshop skill levels range from basic to advanced. This year, our emphasis is on the beginner hooker, and we're offering courses in St. John's, Clark's Beach, Gander, Deer Lake, Springdale, Corner Brook. We've also been approached by 4 other different communities that they would like to have beginner courses. In these courses, you get a kit that has absolutely everything that you need, from the frame, a small frame, a hook, your foundation with the pattern on it, and all the materials that you need to hook your piece. Rug School is held every year. This year, it's from August the 17th to the 20th, and our theme this year is Music and Friends, and it's located at Camp Emmanuel at Lewisport Junction. We're also having retreats that we started with last year. This year, we're on the east side of the island in Whiteway, which is close to Whitburn Dildo area, on April the 21st to the 23rd. And at our retreats, you go, you sit for the weekend, you can hook all weekend, you can sit all weekend, you can chat with your friends, you can walk, it doesn't matter. It's a time for you to get away and be with people that you enjoy being with. We also have celebrations and challenges. Last year, we had our traveling show called the Home. I'll move this over to here. Our home exhibition. And what members were asked to do was create a mat that, just by somebody looking at it, that they would be able to feel your version of home. And some of the mats in it were beautiful. There was one cat mat. And when the lady was asked, well, you know, what has a cat got to do with home? She said, my cat is the main part of my home because she rules the roost. So there you go. Over the years, we've had many exhibits, such as lighthouse exhibits. We had an exhibit of Newfoundland stamps, all which were very beautiful and again, traveled around. Some of our exhibitions, exhibits travel through the library and through the rooms. They go around the province. RHGNL is also community minded. We contribute to the Ronald McDonald House projects. A number of years ago, we had, I think there was 18 to 20 mats that were donated to Ronald McDonald House. They were displayed for so long, and then they were put up on auction. Many individuals and branches have donated mats for fundraisings for different events. Youth are also a focus of our group. Several members and branches have been involved in teaching youth through the Art Smart program and through the Newfoundland culture classes. The picture that's presented there was taken at Indian River High in Springdale with a class of 23 level 2 students, or grade 11 students. And the majority of them were boys, which was kind of unusual. But for half an hour, there wasn't a sound in the library where we were working. One of their teachers came in and asked, you know, what was happening, because apparently this is quite a rowdy class that we had, but there wasn't a sound. They were so involved in what they were doing. It was so nice to see. And every single one of them finished their project, which was really nice. Where to find out about Rug Cooking Guild NL? Well, we have our website, which is www.rhgnl.ca. And on your website, you will find everything that you need to know. We also have a Facebook group, which is a private group that you ask to be invited, and then we say yes. And in that group, we share mats that are done. We give little tidbits of information. Again, we're learning from each other. We also have our Facebook page, which is open to the Facebook world. We also have Instagram. We also have a quarterly newsletter that's sent to all members. Interested in joining? Well, you go to our webpage. You go to the membership heading, and there's a drop-down menu, that says membership application. Fill in all the required fields, choose a method of payment, and submit. Our membership runs from January the 1st to December the 31st. And our references, the references I used in this presentation today came from our book, Hooked Mats of Newfoundland and Labrador, Born of Necessity. They came from our website, came from our Constitution, and all the photos that were used in this presentation came from our group on Facebook. And this is a owl's eye that I did 2 years ago, or the course that I did. So that, okay, let's stop this one for now. And Alyssa, if you could just bring up the website, just so that people could see it. Okay, this is our front page. And right across the top gives you all your information. About tells us all about the history. We have our heritage rug registry. So if you have a mat that's over 25 years old, you can register it there. All the benefits. We also have across the top our membership, our rug school, if you want to learn anything about our rug school. Under news, we have our workshops and our events and our calendars. So if this is the front page that you're looking for. And again, that's www.rhgnl.ca. Okay, thank you, Alyssa. Okay, so Alyssa and Matthew, that brings my presentation to a close. So if there's any questions that hopefully I can answer, maybe, hopefully.
Fabulous. Well, thank you, Anne. That was a wonderful presentation, and
Thank you.
And I'm sure we've got lots of questions. I think where do we have some in the chat already, Alyssa? Oh,
yes, we have. Are you aware of other guilds in Canada? I know we spoke and you do offer some classes online, but if you could explain more about that, please.
Okay, there are guilds all across Canada. I know in Nova Scotia, the Rug Cooking Guild of Nova Scotia, even though it says Nova Scotia, it encompasses Nova Scotia, PEI, and New Brunswick. There is a guild in Ontario called the Ontario Handcraft, Ontario Handcrafted Rugs, I believe. And that's a very big guild. In Manitoba, I don't think they have a provincial guild, but I know there's a lot of different branches in Manitoba, and that's the same with Alberta. I know there's one in Edmonton. There's a group that hook out of there because these people are on, we've had them on our, the last Thursday of the month. We have a Zoom hook in that's open to anybody that wants to join us. I usually put the link on our Facebook group and our Facebook page and invite anyone that wants to join us. And we have people from all across the province. BC has a big hooking community. Quebec has a smaller one, but I believe there is still people in the Quebec area that hook. It seems so that the Maritimes seem to be the heaviest number of hookers. Ontario would be next. I hope that helped.
Thank you. So just for the questions, you can either put it in the chat or use the raise hand feature, and we will be addressing all of them. And we have a question from Karen. May I ask, she does mention that there's the Carnegie Rug Hookers group in St. John's, New Brunswick. And Karen asks, may I ask what kind of reception do you get from the youth beginner classes? Are they interested or just curious?
It's a bit of both. Sometimes, like with youth, with beginner classes, especially if it's school related, they're there because they have to be. But once they get there and look and see what they can do and realize how easy it is to do, then the interest is actually developed. And some of the kids that have done it through the Newfoundland culture classes actually used their projects for evaluation. So a lot of times it starts off as, well, we got to be here, but then they enjoy it when they're there.
Great. Maureen says Manitoba has TFAM, Textile and Fiber Artists in Manitoba, as well as the Manitoba Crafts Council and individuals with a strong history doing so. She also asks, where do you recommend for sourcing proper hooking tools? I've searched and come up empty-handed.
Okay, first of all, I'll say be extremely careful, especially if you're going online to order supplies. Example, like I said, I punch hook a lot. And if I went online to order monk's cloth, 90% of the time I will get the wrong material. So you have to be very aware of what you're looking for. But if you just punch in or key in rug cooking supplies, you'll get a number of them. There are a number of different stores that will ship all across Canada, but unfortunately the cost of mailing anything is outrageous. It actually costs me, if I am mailing out a Oxford wooden punch, it costs me $22, and this is the size of the punch. So like I said, you can't get it online. There are different companies. When it comes to wool yarn, in the Maritimes, we have Briggs and Little, and we have, I'm going to say this wrong, I know I am, McGoslin's in PEI. I always say that wrong. And they're good for wool yarns. Unfortunately, we cannot in Canada right now source good linen or wool material. We have to go to the States for that. You can buy from shops, but if you're buying a lot, that becomes expensive. So Matthew, I'm challenging you to get somewhere in Canada that we can source wool material. There you go.
Like cloth, not yarn, right?
Yes, the actual material, not the wool yarn.
We're working on it. Yeah. Stay tuned for our upholstery plan coming out in the next month.
Okay. Again, I will warn people to be very careful when you're ordering online, to know exactly what you're looking for.
Karen just put in the chat Woodland Fiber Arts, and this is a festival that happens out west. and has been online for the past few years. And there's lots of suppliers in Western Canada, she says. So maybe check that out for supplies.
Well, it would be really nice if we had a Canadian list of suppliers that anyone could access, but I don't think that exists. Like I know in the Maritimes, there's a couple of different companies and things like that, and they're getting more. There seems to be more and more each year. But again, it's I'll call it a specialized craft that you can't really go to Michael's and buy burlap, because the burlap they sell is what you would use for craft making or for wrapping around your trees. And it's not necessarily the best for rug hooking.
Okay, thank you. Janet is asking, are you able to share the website again and tell us a bit about the pieces that are featured? So I'll bring the website up and you can do the explaining. Just give me a minute.
I can also put that in the chat if they want. Or I think I can put it in. Okay. www.rhgnl.ca.
Oh, I think they wanted you to explain the mats that were on the front page, just a little more information on them.
Oh, on the front page of our website.
Yeah.
Okay.
I put it on the screen now. We have
yeah, well, what we have here is we have a number of different slides that go through, and these mats were hooked by members. This one here of Battle Harbor, it was hooked by Joan Foster. The previous one of the Mermaid was done by Linda Peckford. Yeah, that's Linda's. The next one, if we can go through, that one is on our webpage, but nobody claimed it. So we actually don't know who did that one, but it's a very nice rendition of row houses in Newfoundland. Okay, and the puffin, again, we had these lovely pictures and nobody would claim them. But our lovely puffin, there's a lot of those. And okay, we'll go to the next one. And this is Angela Lang. And okay, just a second, please. This also shows how different the rug hooking has come in years. If you look at the ridges of the mountains there, that's done with whipping or cording that has wool whipped over it and then placed into the mat. One of the other, okay, I'm going to go back to a second. Okay, if you stop sharing that one, Angela, and I'm going to go back and share this one here, because like our come on down. Okay, if I can get this to work right. A lot of these mats, the mat here shown that's blue with the coral, that is actually a waste paper basket, a metal waste paper basket that you can buy at the dollar store or whatever, and was hooked. And then the coral is actually crocheted onto it. Okay, the mushrooms are sculpted. So this is actually another three-dimensional piece. Okay, and then you have the traditional. The art of mat making has evolved so much in the last 15 years that basically now anything goes. But if you're putting it on the floor, pure wool is the best thing to use because it lasts forever. Okay, I hope that answered their question. Stop screen.
Thank you. And we have a few more recommendations. Margaret recommends Ontario Hook and Craft Guild. And Karen says that Deanne Fitzpatrick in Nova Scotia is a great supplier.
Right.
Catherine is asking, tying in, pun intended, with Maureen's question, how can someone get started in rug hooking but may, 1, not live in an active rug hooking area of Canada or near a guild, and 2, on a tight budget and not a lot of money to spend on supplies?
Okay. Right now, a lot of the guilds are going towards Zoom and doing classes virtually. That's a great way to do it. If you're not in an area where there is an active group, you can always start your own group. Maybe if you're interested, maybe your friend is interested, and then the two of you can sit down and learn how to do it. There's a number of videos online. Okay, you will just give me a thumbs up there. There's a number of videos online that give you the basics that will help you start. But if you can do Zoom courses, beginner courses, it's a great way to start. The way to find out about these courses is, example, like with Rug Hooking Guild NL, we have our courses listed on our website. And so does the Nova Scotia Guild, and I know the Ontario Guild does also. But you and a buddy, or maybe 2 or 3, great way to spend an afternoon having a cup of tea or coffee or whatever, and hooking. It's fun. And with regards to supplies, traditionally in Newfoundland, well, I'll say traditionally everywhere, the supplies for hooking mats came from used clothing, used material. And it was whatever you had, you cut up and you hooked with. And that's, I mean, like I said, our book that says beauty born of necessity. Well, these things back in the late 1800s, early 1900s weren't there in people's houses because they were pretty and they could afford them. They were there because the floors were cold. And you used whatever you had to make the mat. A lot of people still use recycled clothing, recycled wool, Frenchies, and any used clothing stores are a great place to get materials very cheaply. You do not have to go out and buy expensive wools and yarns and things like that, especially when you're starting. And it's a great way to start. So hopefully that answered question.
Thank you. Maureen says, when she searches rug hooking, she only gets latch hooks, tools, and punch needles, and that she's also reached out to wholesalers, don't have any interesting. Rochelle is also giving some love to Deanne Fitzpatrick, and she says that she has a $10 flat rate shipping fee. Megan said she bought some supplies from Fabric Bill a couple years ago, but they never restocked it. Interesting.
Yeah.
And then she did share a link in the bio for fiber mills. Karen says there's a few on Ravelry and Facebook for names of suppliers. Ontario OHCG has it on their website. Yeah. And then we have a question from Karen. Do you feel the younger generations will start to craft like previous generations?
Okay, how can I say this nicely? I can't. Uh, uh, the younger generation of people live in a world or a bubble of, I don't have time for anybody but me. And I know that doesn't really sound fair because there's a lot of people that aren't like that. But I don't think, well, generations before us did things because they had to, at a necessity. I mean, you knit because, well, you needed wool socks, or you sewed your own clothes because you couldn't buy them anywhere. But now you don't have to do that. But people are also starting to look at crafts. And when I say crafts, I'm talking about like rug hooking or glass blowing or knitting, painting, stuff like that, more as a something that you could, it's an extra. You don't have to have it. So yes, will some continue in this way? I think so, but I don't think they'll craft as much as maybe that we did. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I know we find it very hard to get younger people involved, like the 20 to 45 age range is what I'm considering young. But with that said, these people are very involved in family life, work situations, so on and so forth, and they don't have the time to do it. Maybe they got to punch in their time, and when they get to retire, they can do whatever crafting they want to do.
Do you think that the pandemic kind of made these sort of crafts a little more popular since people were spending more time at home and needed new ways to entertain themselves?
Most definitely. I think this is one of the best things that came out of the pandemic. There's always silver linings in everything. I think the technology of Zoom has allowed people to take up projects, one, that they never had time for, two, that they couldn't find any information about. Now they had the time, they wanted to do something. You talk about mental health and stress relievers. Crafting is one of the best ways to do that. And they had the opportunity to do it. So I think the COVID was a godsend to a lot of the crafting industries. People actually got to read books that they hadn't read in ages. You know, actually had time to sit down and read a book, or they actually had a time to learn something new. I know personally, I would say last year, I did at least 30 courses online, which I never would have been able to do before, but it was there. It was really neat.
Interesting. Maureen says that she teaches fiber arts every weekend and that most of the students are younger than I am. And she also would like to know if you know where to find good burlap.
Whoa. Now, at one time, Scottish burlap was excellent burlap to use. There wasn't a lot of fiber from it. The weave of it was a nice weave, but the factory is shut down. Scottish burlap is virtually impossible to get now. I know on the island here, a lot of hookers have gone to linen instead of burlap. A lot have gone to actually hooking with rug warp or monk's cloth because you can't get good burlap anymore.
We have a few more recommendations coming in PEI, Periwinkle Lane, that sells hooking supplies, New Brunswick, Legacy Lane, and our friends Briggs and Little. And Maureen talks about fiber sheds found in most regions of Canada. and you could find supplies there. And I'm gonna pronounce this wrong. Hope wants to know where they can buy the book Hooked Mats of Newfoundland.
Okay, unfortunately, our book, we decided not to reprint. We may change our mind down the road. There are very few copies left. I would recommend a public library and to borrow it, but to actually purchase the book now, I don't even think there's any copies left. A couple other suppliers that I will mention in Nova Scotia, you have Encompassing Design in Mahone Bay. There is a craft shop that supplies rug cooking in Sydney. I can't think of the name of that one. Up around the New Brunswick, Nova Scotia border, along with Deanna Fitzpatrick, you have Della Ackles. There's two U's, EWE. I can't remember the last name. Anyways, there are 3 or 4 in that area. Mahone Bay is a good area to, I think Spruce Top Rug Cooking Supplies is still there. In PEI, I know there's one by just outside Charlottetown called Pastime. In Newfoundland, we don't have a lot. I don't know of an actual shop in Newfoundland that carries rug cooking things. Like we do individuals, like I carry supplies for like rug, I carry Dora wool, I carry monk's cloth and rug warp and punch needles. Winnie Glavine also supplies things, but it's more of an individual. Like Joan Foster has supplies. So you would have to contact individuals in Newfoundland as opposed to like other places where you can actually go. And it's really, I would love to get up to Ontario to some of these fiber fairs that they have, because I think they would be awesome to see and look at the different things that they have.
Thank you. Margaret is recommending Periwinkle Lane. Megan says split a wholesale order with members of your guild. Start a guild and split it. Rochelle Martina Lazar also offers a flat rate of shipping. Megan says that there is a resurgence in the fiber community in Winnipeg, so that's interesting to hear. And she says most of the people who I associate with her are much younger and cooler than I am. And yeah, she says there's been a resurgence in this craft, so that's really interesting to hear, and great to hear. Sharon asks, do you have examples of rug hooked wearables like slippers and mittens?
I don't personally, but I will recommend on Facebook going to Hooked Creations NL. Okay, I will actually put that in the Hooked Creations NL. On Facebook. That's Winnie Glavine, and Winnie does mitts, woolen mitts, and they are absolutely beautiful. Now, I know one of the members of our hooking group did a hat recently, like a pillbox hat. Now, that was done from a course online, and I cannot give you the information on that because I'm not sure who she took it from, but I know that was online. Another area that you may look at for information is your craft councils. A lot of provinces have craft councils or fiber guilds. look those up online and see if you can find anything there.
Thank you. And Judy says she learned spinning during COVID from YouTube. So it may be worth it to look up rug hooking on YouTube.
Yep.
And then Karen asks if the guilds across the country could get together and buy a bulk order of linen. I don't know if that's a question for you, but maybe something for everyone on this chat to consider. Get together, buy some bulk linen.
But the biggest thing with that is the shipping of it. Because like I said, I mean, for me to ship things from Newfoundland is, if I can't fit it into these prepaid boxes, it's a fortune.
Yeah,
So,
I think it's gotten quite expensive, and I think even more recently it's gone up. Carol's, oh, sorry.
actually, the last supply I got from Dora Mill, I got a come courier and it was cheaper. So
Interesting.
much for Canada Post.
Carol's recommending Petite River hooking with Jane Steele.
Yeah, that's in Nova Scotia.
Catherine is asking for spinners and fiber producers who create yarn. What kind of wool yarn are rug hookers looking for? Type of wool, number of ply, wraps per inch, etc., natural or dyed?
Okay, most hookers in this area use 2-ply, 100% wool 2-ply. Natural wool and dyed wool, hand dyed wool. A lot of us dye our own wool, but a lot of people, like when we go to hook-ins, everybody wants the hand dyed wool. People that punch use either 2-ply wool or 3-ply, or some people even use 4-ply, but that's a little less in number.
Okay, and we have a few more recommendations in Calgary, Alberta, Cochrane area, Legacy Studio, Carnegie Rug Hookers Group do a Christmas ornament fundraiser. If you want to look at, anyone wants to look at that for reference. In Ottawa, Old Forge has a list of rug hooking suppliers. Hooked Creations, oh, you put that in the chat, Hooked Creations Newfoundland.
Yep.
And the hooked hat was taught by Jean Haley Dye and Design.
Yep.
So
Yep.
we have a name.
There you go.
Judy, I believe this is our last question. I'll say last call for anyone who wants to ask questions. Raise your hand or put it in the chat. Otherwise, Judy asks, rug cutters are so expensive. What size cuts of fabric are used most often?
It all depends on your style of hooking and your foundation cloth. If you have a very tightly woven foundation, like a good linen, you're going to use the smaller cut, which would be, I love using 3 and 4 cut. Actually, my owl that I showed, that was a 3/4 cut. Most people probably don't go down as far as 3 because it's a very, very fine cut. If you don't have good wool, it all ravels. 4 to 8 cut. So like about a 1/4 of an inch, maybe to a 1/2 inch type thing. And the looser your weave, the wider your cut could be. With regards to cutters, our guild buys cutters, and what we do is we circulate them around to the branches because they are very expensive. But so if you're involved in a branch or try to locate people in your area or whatever, or contact your provincial bodies, they may be able to help you with the hookers, with the cutters. Also online, you'll find that a lot of people have cutters for sale.
Interesting. Yeah, it's a great idea to share them all.
Yeah.
Last call, any questions? put in the chat, put your hand up. Otherwise, just a question for us. If Campaign for Wool has a list of small fiber source producers, guilds across Canada, I can put together a list from the chat today if you'd like. And then Arlene says suppliers in Edmonton are Little Blue Craft Fiber Studio and Fern's School of Craft, and both sell wool and needle hooking supplies. And yes, I guess that's it for questions. Thank you so much again, Anne, for speaking today.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah, it was an
Matthew,
absolute
if you want to
pleasure.
wrap.
Yeah, thank you, Alyssa. Yeah, it was an absolute pleasure to see you again, Anne. You and your members make really beautiful and incredible art, and so, and I hope that again that you're wrong in the sense that more young people take it up, and that we are, and I think we are seeing a resurgence in terms of interest in the traditional ways of doing things, and even though we may not need them to keep warm as we once did, I think we all need beauty in our lives, and we all need art in our lives, and that's something that's never going to go out of fashion. I also would like a round of applause for myself for holding back on all the hooker jokes. It's just, there were so many times where I could have just interjected and said something, but I didn't. I let it fly. So, but yeah, I think it's very appropriate actually that we're having this on Valentine's Day. But I want to thank everyone again for tuning in, for all your support for the Campaign for Wool and the Canadian Wool Council, and we look forward to seeing you at our next discussion. Do we have the speaker confirmed yet, or we're still working on that?
We're still working on it.
Then stay tuned. We'll have a hot new speaker on a different aspect of the Canadian wool industry. So thank you again, everyone, for participating. And thank you again to you, Anne, and your skilled hookers of Newfoundland.
Thank you. And I'll just mention, Matthew, even though you're not going to make any comments, I was doing a beginner class the other day and a lady was videoing and we were talking about whipping and chaining for our finishing.
Okay.
And she said, I gotta stop videoing.
That's something probably for the younger hookers, but anyway. Have a great day, everybody.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you very much.